MG's journey in India started off with the Hector last year, and so far it has all been about SUVs. They launched the MG ZS all-electric SUV, and recently MG introduced the Hector Plus. And continuing with the theme, MG is all set to roll out another SUV for the Indian market, but this time around it is the massive, the big and the bold MG Gloster. We have the car with us today and we'll tell you exactly what the car is all about, what it offers, the features it gets, the kind of space it has, and what sets it apart from other SUVs that are currently present in the market. The MG Gloster measures 4985mm long, 1926mm wide and 1867mm tall at the tape, making it bigger than the likes of the Toyota Fortuner and Ford Endeavour. It is also longer and taller than the Mahindra Alturas G4, but not as wide. At 2950mm, the Gloster has a longer wheelbase than those SUVs as well. Those generous proportions give it immense presence on the road, of course. However, unlike the Hector, the Gloster isn't what you'd call radical or eye-catching in terms of design, as its styling follows a more conventional approach. Up front, the Gloster features a large grille finished in silver flanked by all LED headlamps, including LED turn indicators. Lower down in the bumper, you'll find chrome applique around the fog lamps, which we feel should have been LED units as well, keeping the premium positioning and the price of the Gloster in mind. Moving on to the side, there are 19-inch two-tone alloy wheels. Towards the rear you get split LED tail lamps and a whole host of badges, including the name spread across the boot lid in big bold letters. We're not big fans of it, but it's for the owners and buyers to decide whether they like it or not. So inside the MG Gloster, and like the exterior, the interior too looks nice and expensive. It is quite fancy in the way the materials have been chosen. There's leather insert in the dashboard, soft touch plastics, and the overall quality is pretty satisfactory. But as expensive as it looks, it doesn't feel that way. That is my one issue with the Gloster. Like this gear selector, for instance, it looks quite expensive, very fancy, but it doesn't give you that premium feeling when you touch it or use it. And that is a thing I'm not quite a big fan of. But you have to remember that MG is offering you all these fancy features, all these expensive looking features at a very, very competitive price, and I think it is a fair trade-off. What greets you is within the cabin. For the driver, there's a nice chunky steering wheel with plenty of controls for your infotainment, for your MID to go through different menus, and you also get cruise control and a button over here which is for adaptive cruise control. We'll get to that later on. And a button for voice command and an asterisk sign here which takes you to MG's call center. You can press it and it will directly get you in touch with their call center. They can help you out with something if you need. Nice large touch screen, no buttons. Everything is touch control except one small button for getting to the home screen to let you access other menus, and there's plenty of things to explore in the touch screen. Lower down there are the controls for the air conditioning system. This is a 3-zone climate control, so 2 individual zones for the front, 1 for the rear. And you also get ventilated seats and you get heated seats as well. You come lower down, then there's another array of buttons to the right of the gear selector, which controls hill descent control, traction control, automatic start stop for the engine when you come to a halt. There's also park assist, which basically identifies a spot, say between two vehicles. If it's big enough for the car will pull into it on its own without any steering inputs. All you have to do is control the brake. The seats that you get in the front are nice and comfortable. They give you electrically adjustable recline, fore aft movement and lumbar support, and the driver also gets a massage function. That is quite interesting. And but this massage function is driver only, not for the co-passenger or the rear seat occupants. Now we've already shown you the front seat of the Gloster and shown you what features you get and what all is there at your disposal when you're sitting in the front. It's time for us to check out the rear seat, and this is one of the few SUVs, and I think the only one at this price point which gets individual captain seats, which is going to be a big selling point for the Gloster. And these are quite spacious. I mean, I have plenty of space to stretch out my legs. There's ample knee room, and I can obviously decline the seats as per my liking, and I can move them front and back as well. I also get this nice armrest and a very comfortable looking cushion, and you can also adjust the angle of this with a button, so you can bring it forward or bring it back as per your liking. And like I said, this gets a 3-zone climate control, so you have an individual zone for both occupants at the rear, and you can control this with a screen display over here and buttons. And under that is a 12-volt power socket and a USB charging port, and a small storage space for, I'm guessing, to place your phone when it's plugged into the USB. I also get cup holders which can be popped out from here, and that's actually about it as far as the rear seat is concerned. It is a very roomy, very spacious cabin, and it's quite airy, and this panoramic sunroof only adds to the feeling of space. And for someone who's looking to be chauffeured around as well as drive the car, this makes a lot of sense, especially because of these individual captain seats. The third row within the MG Gloster is not that bad a place to be in actually. I've moved the second row slightly forward, but not so much that the second row passengers get uncomfortable or their knee room gets restricted. They still have plenty of space to sit, plenty of space for their legs to stretch out, and with that setting, I too have decent amount of space here. There's enough knee room, there's enough headroom as far as third rows are concerned. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that there's plenty of knee room or headroom, but as far as third row seats go, this is pretty okay, slightly more than okay in fact. And you get individual aircon vents, which is a good thing, and you also get a cup holder, and you get a 12-volt power socket here. Not on that side you get a USB port. And the good thing is that even if you do decide to get into the third row, or you have people sitting in the third row, this will be more than good enough for shorter journeys, even slightly longer ones in fact, and even for people my height, which is 5'8" for reference. So you won't be very uncomfortable. But of course, the seats that you should give preference to are the front row seats and the second row seats. Here's a look at the highlights of the MG Gloster's extensive list of features that you'll find in the top-end variant we have with us today. And while our test car came with second row captain seats, there will be variants available with a bench seat that can seat 3. Entry-level variants of the Gloster will come with a 2-litre diesel with a single turbo, producing 163 bhp and 375 Nm of power and torque respectively. Top-end variants, including the one we drove, feature a 2-litre twin-turbo diesel engine good for 218 bhp of maximum power and 480 Nm of peak torque, available from just 1500 rpm. Those figures mean that the Gloster has more power and torque than any other SUV in the Rs 30 to 50 lakh price bracket. An 8-speed torque converter automatic serves the Gloster. Performance is strong, particularly in the mid-range, but despite a power and torque advantage, the Gloster, being bigger and heavier, is more than a second slower from 0 to 100 km per hour than the Fortuner and the now discontinued Endeavour 3.2, posting a time of 12.1 seconds. The only issue I have is with the 8-speed torque converter. When you're driving sedately, it's all fine, it does the job well, it shifts up without any hitches, and it's all very smooth. But sometimes when you want to get a move on in kickdown mode, it takes a fair amount of time to respond. And other instances where I felt it was a little slow was when if you've come to almost a standstill, or if you've slowed down to a very low speed, say 20 kmph while approaching a speed breaker or something, After that, to get going, it takes a few seconds to respond and get into gear, and the car gets moving. The ride and handling overall has that characteristic body on frame feel to it, as the Gloster exhibits a fair amount of body roll through corners, and there's plenty of movement along the Y-axis over large bumps and undulations, especially at lower speeds. The Gloster's high-speed on-road mannerisms are much better, as it displays great composure and confidence at high speeds. Now the steering, first of all, the steering is actually very light, and it makes handling this very big SUV quite easy, especially through cramped streets or when you're taking a U-turn or just navigating through traffic. But on the flip side, at higher speeds, it doesn't really weigh up enough. The one thing that sets the Gloster apart from other SUVs in its segment maybe, or even SUVs that are higher up in the segment, even certain luxury SUVs for that matter, is the fact that you get a lot of driver assistance features. So you get lane keep assist. There is a display on the instrument console which lets you know when you're slowing out of your lane, and there is a beep which accompanies the display as well. You also get front collision impact warning and automatic braking, so every time it senses that you're too close or you're about to maybe run into the back of a slow moving car in front of you, it will apply the brakes, or first it will start off with a warning, and then when the situation gets dire, it will apply the brakes on its own. You also get adaptive cruise control, which basically means that unlike normal cruise controls in which you set a certain speed and then you get going, and every time you have to slow down because maybe there's a slow moving vehicle in front of you, you have to apply the brakes, which disengages the cruise control. In this, you can set the distance which you want to maintain with the vehicle in front, so it will automatically slow it down based on the preset distance and give you enough time to switch lanes and overtake, and then it will bring you back to that preset speed. Here's a look at all the safety and driver assistance features available with the top of the line MG Gloster Savvy. There are multiple drive modes available, including Sport, Auto and Eco. The difference between Eco and Sport wasn't exactly very evident, to be very honest. In fact, in both modes, with the throttle pinned, the gearbox was shifting up at 4000 RPM. The driver can take manual control over gear changes with the gear selector or the paddle shifters available. For those looking to venture off the road, the Gloster comes with 4-wheel drive, an electromechanical differential lock and off-road modes which include mud, snow, sand and rock. Based on the visuals on your screens, the Gloster seems like it is fairly capable of handling the rough stuff. So the MG Gloster looks imposing thanks to its generous size. It is quite roomy on the inside and the interiors look quite fancy as well. It's got plenty of features too, some that aren't available in this segment or even segments above. It is very comfortable and makes a lot of sense as a chauffeur-driven vehicle thanks to the presence of second-row captain seats. But where exactly does it fit in? Well, prices haven't been revealed yet, but we're hearing that the entry-level variants will match the base Toyota Fortuner and Ford Endeavour in terms of price, while the Gloster's mid-level trims will be closer to the top-end variants of those two SUVs. The version we've shown you in this video is the range topper and is likely to cost around Rs 40 lakhs ex-showroom, which is 4 to 5 lakhs more than the likes of the top-end variants of the Fortuner and Endeavour. For those extra lakhs though, you get an SUV that's considerably bigger and has way more features, making the Gloster fantastic value for money.